What's up, everybody? Back after just some Thanksgiving picks last week with NFL Week 13 preview. Me and Slee were back discussing each and every game in Week 13, talking about our leans and our opinions in each game. Of course, as we say in all the videos, don't forget to like if you're enjoying it, comment your picks and what you think for this week, and most importantly, subscribe to show the channel some love, and most importantly, keep getting this content week in and week out. Slee, well, I'll hand it off to you for the Thursday night game to kick us off.
All right, yep. Kicking off with the Thursday night game. Got the 6-5 Seahawks heading in as 8.5 point favorites or underdogs now into Dallas. Now sitting at 8-3. Seahawks lost to the Niners, now 1-3 in their last four. Kind of falling apart. Looked
Yeah.
like a solid playoff team just a few weeks ago. And then Dallas offense been absolutely on fire. Although um they've won their last three, all against under 500 teams. So I know some people are kind of calling Dallas fraudulent, but great defense. Offenses looked great. Also 5-0 at home against the spread this year. What do you like with this 8.5 point spread, Butch?
Yeah, I really don't like either spread just because, like you talked about, Cowboys wins have all been against teams with pretty poor records. The Seahawks are, like you said, sliding right now. You could say that they're better than 6-5, but how they looked late, they maybe aren't. Kenneth Walker being out is really hurting them as Zach Charbonnet is not nearly filling in as nicely at running back there. But I do feel like it's time for the Seahawks to really, come back to their true identity and compete. I think it's hard to say the Cowboys lose this game based on how well they've looked recently, and given the fact that the Seahawks offense has really struggled without the run game identity, which they rely on so much. I talked about this from week one when I predicted the Rams beating the Seahawks. Geno Smith was going to fall back down to earth after last season, and he certainly has. This is a really tough defense to be going against. I think he's been getting
Yeah.
sacked left and right with that offensive line. I can't imagine what this Cowboys D line is going to do. I really like the Cowboys to win. I think if I had to pick anything, I'd like the under because I want to say the Seahawks defense steps up here, especially with their pretty talented secondary. But this game really is a crapshoot in my mind. The only thing I would be surprised if the Cowboys lost, but they've lost to bad teams this year before too. What do you think?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Geno's definitely come back down to earth after last year. I think he's got 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the season.
Yeah,
So
it's tough.
definitely not playing as well. And yeah, the defense has stepped it up, but I don't see how Geno succeeds against the Dallas defense. The pass rush and the coverage is both top five in the league.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in the Seattle offense doesn't really run the ball that much or rely on it.
Mm-mm.
I just think they're gonna have a tough time scoring. So I mean, I like your under pick, like you said.
You know what? This eight and any 8.5 line for a favorite is a great spot to tease, especially if you like me and you think the Cowboys are going to win. And you mentioned it, I didn't notice. Only 12 touchdowns for Geno Smith passing. I just mentioned that the run game is really taking a hit without Kenneth Walker. You're going to get a good defensive front here. You can't really rely on Geno Smith has thrown just over one touchdown a game, we're saying, with 12. Where are they going to get their points from without a reliable run game? In that 12 touchdowns is with a pretty strong receiving core that most quarterbacks in this league would envy with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, how you not producing more in this offense? Something's a little bit broken there, whether it's quarterback, pass protection, the offensive line. But that all, regardless, the offense is struggling, and that's why you've seen this team slide lately, not because of the defense. I think they're
Yeah,
going to have their hands full against the Dallas defense and struggle to put up points. If you're like me and think the Dallas defense is pretty solid, or the Seahawks defense is pretty solid, then I think the unders are a fair take. Moving on, though, we got Super Bowl rematch from a long time ago. One of the most memorable games of my childhood. This is like this game, the Super Bowl was what started the inception of my NFL fandom. Almost put a picture there to commemorate it, but did not.
yeah.
What do you got notes wise for this game, Slee?
Yeah, we got the 2-10 Cardinals going to the 7-4 Steelers. Pretty sure the Steelers are the only team in the NFL in the bottom third of points for that also has a winning record. Um, Coming in this game, Steelers just beat the Bengals without Burrow, but they did gain the most yards in a game all season for them since they fired Matt Canada. So
Yeah,
first game without him, the offense was able to move the ball. Didn't necessarily translate to points, but Definitely move the ball better than they have all season. To me, this line feels really low, doesn't it? I mean, I know the Steelers don't score too much, rely heavily on that defense. So I think that's probably the main reason why it's only 5.5. But I think with Matt Canada gone, maybe we see the Steelers offense start moving the ball a little bit more.
No, I'm with you. And you mentioned it was the first time it was the most yards they had since Matt Canada was gone, which has been a week or two. It's the first time they passed 400 yards on offense since like Ben Roethlisberger days. They were saying on the broadcast, like it's been forever since they actually moved the ball like that. And what I saw that was really encouraging for this offense is they started to stretch the field a little bit, throw the ball downfield instead of doing the dink and duck offense that you're used to seeing as of late with this Steelers team. And they match up really well in the fact that they don't. Everyone matches up well against the Cardinals with a run game. The Steelers' offensive line is not a strength for them, but the run game is coming alive a little bit as of late, with or without Matt Canada, and it's really because you get the two-headed monster of Jalen Warren alongside Najee Harris, who started to pick it back up second half of the season here, which is being such a big and physical guy. I have to imagine just between Harris and Warren that just like what Williams and Freeman did for the Rams, that these Steelers running backs will tear up the Cardinals and keep this game pretty out of touch and out of reach for the Cardinals here. But it's surprising to me that you said this is a pretty low spread, I would say, for how bad the Cardinals have looked, and a pretty low total. So the odds makers are saying we're not buying too much into the 400-yard output from the Steelers last week. We don't really care that the Cardinals just let up 37 points. We really don't think the Steelers are going to put up more than 23 points this game. And whether you bet the over-under or the spread, I think it's really a bet on what Steelers team you think is going to come out here and how many points you think they're going to put up, because they should win this game. It's really hard for a team like the Cardinals, who are undersized and undermanned a lot of positions, to win games when they can't control the line of scrimmage in any aspect of the game. And that's why they struggle year in, year out. I would have a hard time seeing the Steelers lose this game. But like you said, it does feel a little bit undercooked with the spread and the total, given how good the offense looked last week and how poor the Cardinals defense looked last week.
Yeah, even with it feeling like a fishy line, I think you still got to go with the Steelers minus 5.5. I don't.
Yeah, you feel stupid betting the Cardinals here. They look so bad. But
And
you never
Steelers
know.
defense is definitely elite at the moment, and
Yeah, they picked it
that's
up.
one thing that I expect it will definitely show up in this game.
Yeah, they didn't start out the season too great defensively. Like we talked about a few weeks back, how they were always every single game they played in, they were allowing more yards than they put up. Part of that was because their offense was so sluggish, but their defense wasn't doing them a ton of favors either. And now it's really picked up. And I'm looking right now to see their star safety, Minka Fitzpatrick. He's been out, and if he's back in this game too, then I'm reading articles that it's kind of up in the air. Game time decision is what I'm kind of seeing. If he plays this game, it's a outside of TJ Watt, he's the best player on their team on both sides of the football. And that's a big deal. If this defense is already trending in the right direction, gets their star player back at safety, it starts to look even better for the Steelers.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. All right, moving along. Actually, despite two teams with losing records, pretty interesting matchup
I'd
in
agree.
this one.
Yeah.
Where are the Falcons here? But the Falcons, I mean, they're 5-6 now. They're
I think they're
tied.
tied for the lead in the
Yeah,
AFC South.
yeah,
Dang.
and then the Jets now sitting at 4-7. Kind of on a skid, seems like as of late. But the Falcons beat the Saints. Jets lost by 21, but no real surprise there.
Yeah,
The Solid did say Boyle is supposed to start in week 13.
I did see that.
So I feel like the Falcons here at the minus 2.5 seems like the easy pick. But
Woo-hoo.
heading into before this last win off the bye week against the Saints, they lost their last three. One of those games was to the Cardinals. One of those games was to the Titans. I don't trust Arthur Smith as a coach. I think he
Of
got
course
lucky.
you,
I think he
of
got
course
lucky
it's
one game.
something.
I kind of like the Jets here as home dogs,
The Jets got to
even
win.
with Boyle.
Yeah, I keep saying it, so it's kind of like a broken record, and I'm just trying to pick red when the wheel keeps going black and just hoping I get it right one of these times. I think the Jets win this game. They're due for a win. This is a team with Zach Wilson is capable of beating the Eagles. Like, they are a solid team. Their defense will keep them in some games. Not against the Dolphins, who have one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL, but against the Falcons, who are incredibly one-dimensional and reliant on whoever's in their backfield and nobody else. Like, they'll use Algier, Robinson, and Patterson any way they can, as long as it means they don't get the ball to Kyle Pitts. Like, they're just going to use those weapons. But you start to take that away, the Jets can stack the box here, as they have the best coverage unit in the NFL, to surprise a very few, given DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner's performance. That just means you take away Drake London. They don't use Kyle Pitts anyways. Stack the box and don't let Robinson carry you up, and you have a chance to win this game. Extremely low total here. I think, if anything, you had to take the points in this matchup. You probably should tease this to 8.5, given the total is only supposed to be a close game. There's supposed to be so few points here. There are very few teases as juicy as this, because you don't see a team going from 2.5 to 8.5 with a total this low. I think that has to be a bet this week in some fashion, way, shape, or form. But let's talk about bets. We're talking about the game. Again, I think the Jets, their offensive line is so bad. It's really hurting the run game. They have a great talent with Breece Hall, but they're going up against the second best run unit, and that hasn't changed all season long for the Falcons. So they're gonna have to produce in the pass game. You saw Wilson get in the mix late. That'd be Garrett Wilson for the Jets last week. Like, they're gonna have to. They don't really have too many good options outside of him. Like, Allen Lazard is not a number 2 in any NFL offense that doesn't have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. And this could go either way. I think the Jets defense steps up big time here. I think this is almost like an Iowa total, but you have to take the under.
That's what, yeah. The more we think about it, I mean,
Who
you just
scored this
mentioned it.
game?
The
Who
Falcons
scored?
are going to stop the run. Jets defense should definitely be able to slow down Desmond Ridder. Yeah, this could go under under the 34.
I love the 2.5 tees, but I like the under 34 too. Like you talked about, record wise on paper, it's not like a good game. It's almost like a
But it's
terrible
intriguing.
fight.
Like,
You can't look away from this car crash that is this game. I don't know. You'll be watching Red Zone, and this game will come up like twice. It'll just because a couple stupid picks or something like that. A 10-7 ball game, kind of the Giants and the Patriots. Jeez.
a game that I'm not as much looking forward to. The 1-10 Panthers,
Yeah.
worst record in the NFL, going to the 4-7 Bucks now. Also coming off a loss. The Panthers fired Frank Reich this week, made it official. It really seems like a dumpster fire in Carolina. Even what I hear about the GM just seems like a really weird guy.
Yeah, no, I seen some headlines. I just didn't get. I did a double take. I was working, and I just shook my head and moved on because I couldn't understand what he was talking about.
Yeah, so it's tough for me to trust the Panthers, but we got a 5.5 point spread here. They're heading into Tampa. I want to hear what you like, Woj.
Oh God, this seems like another number 1 under game. Just these NFC South. I bet the under in that Saints Falcons game, and it worked out. I think it's been probably working out for the last half decade, taking these NFC South unders. Ugly games, and it's really stable and fine, honestly. But the Panthers don't look like anything's going. At least in the beginning of the season, you had the Bryce Young to Adam Thielen connection. That's kind of dried up. You're getting thin at running back there too. Their defense has never been a strong suit. They really have very little going for them. Surprised they even beat the Texans in hindsight. That you did call, by the way. The Bucks, despite their record at 4-7, they're 1 game back from the division. Like,
I know they're right there.
They're still playing. I think the Bucks, like, they're must win. They could win this division. They were winning at the beginning of the season. They could still come back and win it now. I think the Bucks win this game. I honestly think they cover -5.5. Like, in the games that they have won, Baker Mayfield has looked formidable. Mike Evans is still really tough to guard, and he just takes the top off the defense. White, the running back, is so fast and big play capabilities against this Panthers defense that is very susceptible to letting get big plays. I think you're going to see the Panthers struggle like they do every game to score, and this is a game the Bucks will win because the Saints are underdogs this week, and like we just said, we think the Falcons are going to lose, and I really do believe they're going to lose, partially because how poor their coaching is. and the Bucks are right there in it for the division again. Like things are good. I think things are going to go their way this week, and they ball out this week and win by a convincing fashion.
Yeah, my issue is even with the Panthers making the change, I haven't seen enough from Bryce Young for me to say, oh, he's gonna play a great game and just win it for him.
You know
I
what
haven't.
has he done right? It's not even on him. It's personnel around him. Like he doesn't
I
have
know he's
things going for him.
yeah. Saw the Jonathan Mingo replay. Um, like towards the sidelines, just completely missed. Like it was a good ball. Receiver just cannot make the play.
It's like it's like he's the number one pick and you want to judge him and compare him to CJ Stroud, but they're not in the same situation. Like one, the Texans got we'll probably talk to it when we get to it, but like the Texans are in a much and CJ Stroud is in a much more enviable position than Bryce Young. It's hard to put it all on Bryce Young, but there hasn't been really anything good from him on film this year. And I don't think that's going to start against the divisional opponent on the road.
Right. Yeah, we just haven't seen it yet.
So maybe you do this week. I would doubt it. I would doubt.
Dolphins sitting at 8-3, heading to Washington now at 4-8. I
Yeah,
mean, it was pretty obvious from the trade deadline that they were unloading that defensive talent, but we've been talking about it. Said this team's going for the tank mode, and definitely could see it since
yeah.
the trade deadline. Dolphins beat the Jets handedly, and the Commanders are now 1-3 since trading Sweat and Chase Young. Washington also gives up 2.5 more points per game than any team in the NFL. I think this is an over central. The Washington also passes um, more than any other team in the NFL, so you're not going to see a lot of clock run off here. I think this game's going to be very, very high score.
Yeah, I think this is almost a no-brainer over. The Dolphins just put up how much against the Jets? 20. So how much did they put up against the Jets?
It was in the 30s.
One of
Forget
those
it was like
was
33,
defense.
34.
Yeah, one of those was defensive, so just kind of a little bit. But the Dolphins put up a bunch of points against the best defense in the NFL, at least according to Pro Football, or one of the best coverage units in the NFL, and a top five defense, no matter who you ask. They're playing the Commanders. I say this every week. They let Justin Fields and that Bears offense that doesn't throw the ball past the line of scrimmage ever tear him up and put up 40. What is this Dolphins team going to do? I think the Dolphins realistically have a shot to hit this total by themselves. And I mean that with all sincerity. I also think, like you said, this Washington offense just wants to sling the ball. Well, they're going to get down early right away, and we know that. And while Howell will he's going to do one of two things. He's either going to put up points by slinging it deep, or he's going to put the Dolphins in great field positioning by throwing interceptions, trying to sling it deep. And that's kind of what we've seen from him. It's feast or famine with him. He either tears up the defense, hitting deep play after deep play, or he struggles and throws for 4 picks a game. I think either one of those, quite honestly, is conducive to the over here. I think the Dolphins. No, the only reason I'm not going to take 9.5 here is because you could see a backdoor cover with kind of how the Commanders play. But what do they do to compete here? Like this is almost a baffling line to me that the Dolphins are only favored by 9.5.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they've looked like the much better team through the entire season, and they've been the team where whenever they play a team that's worse than them, they easily win the game.
They hammer
Never
them.
they don't play down to the competition. Or Mike McDaniel
Mike McDaniel's a
doesn't
messing
ease up
around.
on the play calling. He's to get
Ooh.
everyone the touches. Yeah, I could see him running away with it, but
They go
yeah, I
full
love the
speed all
over.
the time, and I love it. But yeah, over. You have to think Tyreek Hill is going to get in the end zone. Jalen Waddle is going to get in the end zone. Achani, I don't even know how to pronounce. Is it Achani? Is that how you pronounce it?
I thought it was like A chain or
It's
something or
definitely
A
Achani.
chain.
One of my
I'm
friends calls it Achani. That's why I pick it up. He's going to get in his like first game back in a while. Like everyone on this team is going to score, and then you'll get some second half chuck ups from the Commanders that will get him in as the Dolphins are
yeah.
super cushy coverage, and that's the game. I like the over here too. This one is not one worth watching unless you got money on it because everyone knows the outcome before it's coming.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got the 4-7 Chargers headed to the now 2-9 Patriots. Chargers lost to the Ravens and only put up 10 points. And have dropped their last 3 now. Whereas the Patriots lost to the Giants and haven't put up more than 17 points in over a month.
Yeah, it's
Um,
disgusting.
Patriots QB situation been unsteady, back and forth between Mac Jones, Zappy. often coming in mid-game. This is just a really messy game. Two teams playing terrible compared to their expectations for the season. Patriots now snuck into the third overall pick for next year's draft at the moment.
Yeah, they're gonna
It's
get.
just two teams just underperforming. I don't know how you look at this one or feel confident about either way.
Yeah. Oh my God. Patriots last in the AFC. Chargers tied for third to last in the AFC. How the hell is Brandon Staley not fired yet? How? How is it possible with how much talent they have? Regardless, what is going the quarterback situation in New England is legitimately disgusting. I don't I don't even want to conjecture about this game, but how the hell can the Chargers lose? Like if Justin Herbert loses to Bailey Zappi, I don't care Bill Belichick coaching's in Boxborough, no matter what. It does not matter. If this team loses, sell the team, fire everybody, and start from scratch. Because this Patriots team, I do believe, is the worst team in football. I think the Panthers played them. I think if the Cardinals played them. I think if the Bears played them, all three of those teams would beat the Patriots on a neutral site with how bad their quarterback play is. And they have no real strength on this team anymore. There's nothing that Bill Belichick can lean on besides maybe Ramondre Stevenson behind a patchy offensive line that can help them. With the way that the Khalil Mack and this Chargers defensive line is putting pressure on quarterbacks, I would be absolutely shocked to see the Chargers lose this one. Keenan Allen tears them up. It doesn't even matter. Like the Chargers have options to beat you and ways to beat you. Keenan Allen can beat you. You can throw it big up to big Mike Williams. Even Quinn Johnson, the rookie wide receiver, get in the action. Austin Eckler can beat you. You can. They have solid tight ends too. Dallin Parham's like 6'9". Throw it up to him. They have guys on defense to make plays in Derwin James and Khalil Mack. What do the Patriots have? They have nothing.
Brandon Staley's going to beat him.
He
to beat himself.
He will. It just like you can't use logic. You never can use logic for a Bill Belichick Patriots team, and you can't for the Chargers and Staley either because they never make sense.
Yeah, that's why this one's so tough for me. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine the Chargers losing this game, but they've seemed to find ways to lose
games.
Find
a way. And God damn it, I'm going to be. I hope they do. As Bears fans, we want the Patriots to be winning. We want them to win out. Problem is, the Bears decided to win games without scoring touchdowns for some reason.
I know. Jeez, what a brutal way to win.
But whatever. Yeah, I mean, we kind of just talk in circles, or I talk in circles about this one, but like the Chargers are going to win this one, and if they don't, they're the biggest abomination in sports that I've seen in my lifetime. Just with no hyperbole intended. It's disgusting and disgraceful what's happening in LA with that team.
Next up, got the 8-3 Lions headed to the now 5-6 Saints. Lions lost on Thanksgiving, so you got a little bit extra time preparing for this game. And the Saints also lost to the Falcons. Derek Carr, I will have to bring it up because I called it early on that I just didn't see how this offense was going to work. He's 22nd in QBR, very costly pick six. The offense got going for a little bit midseason, but they're starting to cool down again.
Yeah.
Saints at the same time, the Saints team's also tied for first in the NFC South. I just love the Lions coming in this one off the loss, even with such a low line. The public money's all over the Lions at the moment, but it's tough for me to go against them. Saints defense at the same time still been very solid. So yeah, Saints team is they aren't flashy, but I've tailed them a few times this year, and I feel like they've burned me. I can't trust Derek Carr in that offense. But I want to hear your thoughts.
No, I'm with you. And the Lions were due for a loss and kind of a beatdown, and the Bears should have handed it to them. But the fact they let it slip away, they let losing shows your issues. Winning masks all your issues. You can't keep winning and then improve at the same time. It doesn't really work like that. You need to air out your dirty laundry in these losses, and that didn't happen in the Bears game, which it should have. And people forget like Jared Goff threw 3 picks in that game. This offense had 4 turnovers. When you win, it masks that. But then you get a hairy loss to the Packers in a pretty bad one too. You get a lot of time and a long week to think about it. That's what this Lions team needed. And now they're coming into New Orleans. here. While New Orleans does need this win, they've looked extremely shoddy as the whole NFC South this year. But you would like to think the Lions can get back on track. They can beat you offensively in a ton of ways. They can run the ball up the gut with David Montgomery, get the running back out in space with Jahmyr Gibbs, beat you with Amon-Ra St. Brown and some short routes and even long crossers, and then Laporta underneath in the flats as a really versatile tight end. Offense is really solid, as you talked about. This Saints offense, while they had a blip mid-season, they've really fallen off lately. I attribute that to the lack of use of Taysom Hill. When they were winning and were putting up a bunch of points, you saw Taysom Hill heavily used in that offense at quarterback, running the football, and receiving. Dennis Allen has kind of gone away from that, and you've seen the Saints start to slide. Maybe not as a result, but certainly a product of that. Long story short, I do think the Lions get back on track. They're a better team than the Saints. And what the Lions have really done this year, for the most part, is they beat teams that seem to shoot themselves in the foot. And that's not the Ravens, and that's why they get blown up by the Ravens. But that is the Saints team, as you saw against the Falcons. I do think it's a little bit scary that it's even for this low of a line that the public's all over the lines. But given the Saints defense with how good they are, they can keep them in any game. And Derek Carr and Olave and even like the gadget guy and Taysom Hill and Kamara can keep them in games. This is something I'm just going to stay away from, quite honestly, this week. But I would be a little surprised the Lions lost, but it seems a little trappy to me.
It's been the year of the public money, though.
It never's been like this.
Believe them. I know it hasn't.
But you can't believe the public. They're stupid. But they're
this
winning
year,
money.
they're right.
But this year they're winning money. So I don't know. Goes against everything I believe in. You got Barley betting on the Lions. I don't like betting with that guy. He's having a killer this year because he just jumps on the public. He just jumps on the public. And guess what? And he's the one laughing, and I'm over here complaining.
All right, next up, got the AFC South matchup. 6-5 Colts now, looking at a playoff spot in the AFC. Titans now at 4-7. Minshew hasn't been great, but they just beat the Bucs, now over 500, as we just mentioned. The Titans also picked up a needed win against the Panthers this last week. This AFC South division, I will say, has been more competitive than I can remember in pretty much our whole lifetimes. And kind of to a surprise, Colts, had some hype, but never really knew what we'd get from Anthony Richardson. Regardless, Minshew stepped in, playing some winning football. You got the Texans playing great, and the Jags kind of emerging as an elite team. This division's been really fun, actually. And even at the Titans at 4-7, I think this is one of the better bad teams in the NFL.
They're probably the best bad team in the NFL in the light. They had Derrick Henry and a good head coach. But right now the Colts are a playoff team. They're knocking out the Bills and some of these other good teams in the AFC and claiming a playoff spot right now, which is wild. So AFC South would have 3 teams, I believe, last time I checked. Because the AFC East has one. Yeah, AFC East only has one with the Dolphins, and the AFC West only has the
Chiefs.
Thank you. And then the AFC North and the AFC South are taking the rest. It's crazy. This for me, and this is not going to be any surprise to you, I think I like the Titans here. Jonathan Taylor is out this game.
Yeah.
+1 at home. Does it make sense? No. The Colts look better, and Zach Moss has looked really good when he's on his own. This offensive line is really good. Everything says the Colts should win this game. I don't think Minshew's better than Levis at quarterback. The only thing, I'd rather even have Pittman right now, at least the system, than I would like DeAndre Hopkins. I find it hard to believe the Titans win this game, quite honestly, but something just tells me they're going to, just because I guess I'm still playing off the heuristic that the Titans are still competitive in this AFC South, and maybe their time's done, and I gotta let go of that and ride with the Colts here. Everything on paper and everything with the eyeball test says that the Colts should win this game, though, even with Zach Moss and without Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, the Jonathan Taylor injury, I think, is pretty big. Gardner Minshew, he's been playing well, but he's not really playing great. Defense has stepped up, but according to PFF, this is still not a top team by any means, really across any statistic. So I
Mhm.
think losing Jonathan Taylor, losing one of your staples, kind of a home run hitter and an offense without a lot of those X factors, I think yeah, that plays a big difference coming in this game. And I'm with you on the Titans. I know they haven't played well, but I mean at home, divisional matchup, I think they could pull out a win here.
Yeah, this was a really close game when they played it earlier in the season. I'm pretty sure the Colts prevailed. I would expect that narrative to be equal and opposite this time around, being a close game and the Titans pulling out late. That's my prediction. I'd be surprised if this wasn't a close game, regardless of who won. But I think I think it's one of those where the Titans are going to get theirs against their division opponent. You know, they're not going to lie down easy, especially against a team they play twice a year. I'm intrigued about this. This is going to be a fun game, I think.
Yeah, no, this game's gonna be awesome. Two teams sitting at 6-5. Texans, 3.5 point favorite at home. Lost a close one to the Jags last week and released their kicker right after. Um, after he pretty much played the game for him. But Broncos are rolling. Handled the Browns. And that's 5 straight wins now for them. But even the advanced statistics are binding to the Texans. Ninth overall in PFF now. Broncos are still bottom third, but it's really tough to judge this team, especially with their first 4 or 5 games. You can almost throw out the window with not even be able to compare that team to what they are now. Um, I'm really interested to what you think in this one. What do you like at the 3.5 spread?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of some of the points you just made, like we do rely on this PFF stuff a lot, and I think it's very valuable for teams that haven't really had a change in continuity in terms of their season trajectory. But the Broncos are not one of those teams. And credit to Sean Payton for really changing the course of the ship after they almost lost the game of the Bears. They got destroyed by the the Dolphins. They let up a disgusting loss against the Commanders. They kind of put that all behind them, and they've looked really good after that, especially Russell Wilson. I don't know if it's changing play calling, changing mindset, giving him more freedom, giving him less freedom. I don't know what happened, but he's looked very solid and he plays mistake-free football, using his legs a little bit more, not like he did in Seattle, but out of necessity to get the first downs. And I really like the way this Broncos team's looking offensively, and especially with the emergence of Cortland Sutton pictured here. But defensively too, they stepped up, and I thought that Browns win last week was pretty telling to me, just because Myles Garrett almost played the whole game, but now he's out for the year, I think. But they didn't crumble against what I think is the scariest defense in the NFL, with the Browns over there. And I was impressed with that win. I think it's time to stop trying to fade CJ Stroud and wait for his down game. I think him and this offense and this play calling and coordinator are legitimate, and you can't really fade it. That being said, I expect him to struggle against this Broncos secondary and this Broncos defense. And from the fact that I said that Russell Wilson's been playing mistake-free football and really putting the team on his back, from what I've seen in terms of making great throws, getting out of the pocket and scrambling, extending plays, and making plays himself, I think I like the Broncos plus 3.5. Maybe they don't win this game, but I think 3.5 is a great spot to be in for a team that's been playing great football lately and playing mistake-free football, winning the turnover margin. If their running backs can hold on the football, which hasn't always happened, but you're going to get relative mistake-free football from the Russell Wilson at quarterback, then I like to see the Broncos stick around this game and maybe even win it. But
Yeah,
it's still hard for me to pick. I want to say the Broncos win just because I love the way they look right now, and I love their defense more. But the Texans do look legit, and Tank Dell has been amazing as a rookie. Nico Collins is great. Obviously, Stroud as a rookie has been good too. So Singletary, great pickup at running back, and he's been playing. He really quickly won that running back room over Damian Pierce, which was a surprise to everybody. Both these teams have had a lot of positive surprises this year, and that's why I'm really excited to watch this game. So I think they're both legit now. The Texans has always been legit, and the Broncos kind of became legit. Go ahead.
whoever wins the turnover battle wins this game. You
That's why I like the
mentioned
Broncos.
Broncos. They're averaging the most takeaways per game right now.
Are
CJ
they?
Stroud
Mm.
only giving up half a turnover per game. I don't know if you could hold on the ball, might be some trouble.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I did not know the Broncos were forcing the most turnovers, but I did know that Stroud has been relatively turnover.
Yeah, he has turned the ball over more lately too, though, so you could
Yeah,
spin it
yeah.
however you
So we'll
want.
see what happens. But he's been good. Stroud has, and it's almost not surprising anymore when he goes out and just has a great performance and just tears up a defense that you think is pretty solid. So it's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be very telling, but I think that veteran Russ over rookie, like even though I just keep saying you don't fade Stroud, he's solid, but I'm taking the Broncos here. I think they're more solid. We got 2 games left, Slee. This one, another great game. Niners, Eagles. What are your quick thoughts on this one?
Niners 8-3, going 10-1 Eagles, best matchup of the week. NFC Conference Championship rematch, but we hopefully, knock on wood, get a healthy Brock Purdy this time around.
Yeah.
The Niners do have the extra rest too, which I think is going to be pretty important, especially when you have Shanahan calling the plays. It is in Philly, which kind of neutralizes that, but I just think San Francisco, when all their stars are healthy, they're the best team in the league. Add Chase Young to the mix, and McCaffrey, Debo, all those guys are in there. They're almost unstoppable. So even on the road, I got to go with the Niners.
I love the Niners here. Like you said, long week for them, long rest. The Eagles, while they played on Sunday, they did go to overtime too. So that's and a pretty full overtime. They had to play both a long drive offensively and defensively. This team's got to be exhausted. They're playing against an incredibly physical Niners team that has looked obviously really solid since the bye week in their 3-game skid. I think this is definitely a revenge game too. I think the Eagles are due for a loss. They should have lost the game to the Bills, and they played great. Credit Jalen Hurts in that offense, but they're due for a loss, and this is their loss. This is the time where it's happening. It's due 2.5. I love it. And the only thing that I can see the Eagles helping the Eagles this game is their pass rush, getting pressure on Purdy, making them make mistakes. Because when he gets time in the pocket, there's no denying how good he's looked. Because he's going to have somebody open with how many weapons he has. But if you get pressure on him and don't give him that time, then that's a real game changer. So that's the only X factor I could see letting the Eagles win this game. Obviously, they have a ton of X factors. That's the biggest one. But overall,
Yeah, I want to see. I mean, there hasn't really been those situations, but I want to see Hurts be forced to throw the ball a little bit more and
and he
get out of the
hasn't looked good
comforts.
this year
That's
when
what I'm
he has
saying.
to.
Well,
Has
yeah,
not
and they
good.
just haven't even had those situations. So I feel like it's another point to your reason earlier. Wins are kind of masking some issues, at least.
Yes. Yes. And you see some memes on Twitter about like the Eagles and first like, oh, I'm excited to watch the Eagles. Well, this game's terrible. Eagles, they have their
Another
struggles,
one.
but
Yeah.
these wins mask them. But we do a couple more games. So we get the Browns in LA. We don't have a ton of time, Slee. I'll go quickly on
Yeah.
this one. Myles Garrett out this season, shoulder injury.
Yep.
I like the Browns +3 here just because I don't care that he's just
Browns could be starting Flacco.
I almost like it. I almost even like it. This Rams defense is brutal. And again, winning masked that when they put up a ton of points. They're not gonna be able to do what they did against the Browns that they did against the Cardinals. I think the Browns defense keeps it in this game. They run all over the Rams. And I almost think the Browns win this game. I don't care who starts.
Yeah, they out physical them for sure. I don't know how I trust Flacco though.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not too sure either, but I like the +3.5 at the very least. Is there anything you want to say about this game other than do you think there's any way the Chiefs lose this one?
Um, yeah, I mean, I actually like the Packers +6.
There we go.
I think the Chiefs very flawed. 2-2 in their last 4. We've been talking about it all season. Just
They,
finally starting to show.
they've been sluggish too. Would not be shocked at all. Not covering, even losing in Green Bay. It's gonna be a cold, wet game there. I'd be a little nervous if a Chiefs fan. And this is the last game of the week. T-Law,
Terrible Monday night game.
yeah. Well, it would have been good if Burr was playing, but you think
Yeah,
the Bengals aren't going to win? I think we agree on that. Do you think they even cover this game?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I
The
really
defense is actually half decent, but yeah, I don't see them stopping the Jags, who are
I love the
now
passing
eight and
attack
three.
from the Jags. I love how they get Zay Jones, Ridley, Kirk, everyone, Ingram involved. Like that's a tough offense to stop when you're punting as much as the Bengals will with Browning.
Yeah, all he eats is ground beef, honey, and salt.
What?
Yeah,
We got to look at
that's what
that. All right,
that's
we'll
what he
end with
said.
that. That's a great note to end on.